So our first podcast.
Yeah, this is an exciting moment, long awaited.
Yeah. It's the Bald Life Matters podcast, right? The Matters of the Bald Life.
Yeah. There's it's a underexplored topic, one that I think definitely holds a lot of meaning to those who are part of the community.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be on this podcast. We're going to be discussing all matters of the bald life.
Yeah.
Everything from aesthetics, the practical. What's the best wax to wax your head with and shine it, and
different mechanisms for coping with loss.
Yes. It'll be the psychological support group aspect of it as well.
For all our bald brothers out there, we feel you, we see you. Yes. And we look exactly like you.
Yeah, exactly, because we all look the same.
All of us.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, as you and I have experienced.
Yeah. Why don't we start with a little bit of background?
Sure. Okay. So you and I know each other since we were like kids, right?
I think you moved to my neighborhood in Miami Beach when I was 7.
Yeah. I was 8 and a half or something like that.
Yeah. So to put it in terms that I would use now as a member of the community, it was 7 years PB, pre-bald. So I was 7 years old. You moved to the neighborhood, and you were 2 grades ahead of me. So we always knew each other. You lived within 2 or 3 blocks of me, but we weren't, I would say our friendship really began to blossom around when I was in 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade.
Right.
And unfortunately, something else in both of our lives began to do the opposite of blossoming around that time. So my recollection, tell me if my chronology is off. I think that you, so you're 2 years older than me, 2 grades ahead of me. I think by the end of your senior year, you fully identified as a member of the bald community. You were categorically bald by the time you graduated 12th grade.
Yes. In fact, I already had made the full transition. Well, I started going bald when I was 16 years old, and it went quick. Okay. So by the time I was 18, the comb over was looking real bad. Yeah. There were holes in the comb over.
It looked like the frayed innards of like a snipped electric wire.
Yeah, you could see the scalp through the gaps in the hair, and it just wasn't. It was just very obvious that it wasn't.
It wasn't hair on a scalp. It was a scalp with a little bit of hair.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I realized at the time that sometimes it's better to retreat than to fight the war.
Right.
If the cause is lost.
You cannot stand in the face of the oncoming wave. You just have to ride it.
Exactly. And so I shaved my head down to the skin, as it is today. And my parents, my dad was a rabbi.
Right.
I remember when I first shaved it was all like super white, and the part that had the hair, it was like white. It was like as white as your ass, I guess.
Right.
For white boys, that's a white ass, unless you tan in the nude. But
it was as white as the flag that he waved in the face of the oncoming.
Exactly, the face of defeat.
The oncoming genetic affliction.
I did. Fight for a little bit, to try to keep the hair.
I remember. I believe there was a period where you experimented with certain drugs to try to help
I tried
the thickness. Right?
I tried Rogaine, but it was like topical Rogaine. It gets like your scalp all oily, and then when it like takes like a half hour, 45 minutes to dry, and then when it dries, it creates these flaky white, like dandruff.
Right.
It was just so gross, and they say if you don't stop taking this, your hair is going to fall back out. So you have to do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's a great business model for those preying off of vulnerable communities.
Yeah, exactly. And the government didn't cover. It was not part of healthcare. It's outrageous.
Never been a bald president.
Yeah,
I think there's
Biden's.
But even Biden's a self-hating bald man.
Why would you?
Because he does whatever he can. He does whatever he can to conceal it.
He has not.
He's not embraced.
He has not embraced his.
The camera is always very carefully angled to not divert the slightest.
I would definitely have to give credit to Trump for fighting his true identity harder than anybody.
Yeah, he's
nobody.
Forgive me if I'm displaying ignorance by asking. Is it a established fact or just widely suspected to be the case that it's a toupee? Is open about the fact that?
So I mean, no. He is not open about that.
Okay.
Or his tax return.
You have to file a FOIA to find to get any information on.
And as far as I know, he has never talked publicly about the details of his hair situation.
Yeah, look,
I have seen analyses by hair surgeons who've done like an analysis, and they because there's different technology throughout the decades that Donald Trump has struggled with his baldness,
right?
And so he's used, the hair surgeon pointed out, it's on YouTube, like they can go through, they can show different aspects of his hair come from different types of procedures, almost
aging like the fossils that they find in different layers of like the dried volcanic ash or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really did work like that.
That's interesting. Yeah. So I guess, I don't want to take the conversation in a political direction, but perhaps the one issue that Biden and Trump see eye to eye in is their inability to embrace their status as members of the bald community.
Yes, they
and none of them is willing, despite their position of power, to actually advocate for other members of the community. There's been no federal funding to. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's outrageous. All Bald Brothers Unite.
Yeah,
we need bald.
Yeah, we need more awareness brought to the community and its struggles.
Yeah, unfortunately there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame in the community. There's a lot of guys. They try to fight
They have a hard time embracing their identity. Which, if you don't mind, I'll use as a segue into my own story, because If I don't want to cut you off, is there anything else you want to say about your own transition into the community? Or?
Right. So I will say, that's right. That's where we went off on a tangent.
Right.
When I shaved my head for the first time, when I was 18 years old, my dad saw me.
Okay.
He walked back, and then he did a double take. Like who is that guy? Wait, that's my son. And he goes, "What did you do?" And I said, I just felt like I wanted, I didn't want to fight it anymore. I didn't want to fight my, I wanted to
ready to embrace who you were.
Exactly. And he was like, "You're wearing a hat until it grows back." And I went to synagogue with him, and he told me a lot of his friends asked him
if you were undergoing chemotherapy.
If I was undergoing chemotherapy. They were very concerned.
And to which you responded, "I wish all I had was cancer. I'm actually bald."
Way worse as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
It was. And then for the next year or two, I tried the Rogaine to get it back, and.
So that incident when your father observed you with your fully shaven head for the very first time, did that occur prior to the end of high school?
That was at the way end of high school.
Okay, so before you went to your post-high school
yes, exactly.
year? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right before I left to
go.
That's... And then when I left home after 18, that's when I experimented with
and
I got some of the hair back.
I remember there are pictures of you from that time period. Where you had,
but it never came back good where it actually.
You never looked like a person your age.
Yeah, exactly. I was 20 years old and I looked 35.
Yeah,
and so it wasn't.
So then, when you returned from your time abroad, because we spent our first couple of years post high school abroad, you then devoted yourself to being a shaver.
It took me another 6 months.
Okay.
I went to University of Florida.
Okay.
And back then I wore a bandana. That's how to cover my shave.
Vaguely, I remember.
I wore a bandana. That was my thing.
Yeah.
And I was so ashamed of my balding.
Yeah. Okay.
That I remember I once went on a date with a girl and I still wore the fucking bandana.
Okay.
And she looks at me and she's like, "Oh, you really wear that bandana everywhere?" Because we were going to a nice restaurant.
Right.
And I'm wearing a stupid ass bandana.
Right.
And
we were going swimming.
Yeah.
There we were in the tanning salon.
Yeah.
Insisted on keeping it on.
And things did not go well on that date.
Yeah. There's nothing like being unable to fully expose your appearance to a girl to undermine your confidence.
Yeah, exactly. So it was very painful. Then I went to massage school, and after I think it was during massage school that I became comfortable enough to just fuck it,
to embrace who you were and share that identity with the world.
Exactly, and just be free.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's
exactly.
beautiful.
There's
I feel that right here.
I gotta say, most people will never appreciate this, but it feels amazing.
Anyone who wants to appreciate it, they're invited to come and
and
gently
it's good
stroke
luck
his,
as well.
his
It's good
scalp.
luck. Good luck.
Yeah. It's a lot better luck than being bald but not shaving.
Yeah.
That definitely won't help anyone get lucky.
So go ahead. Back to
so my tale of woe and loss is not particularly different from yours. So I remember I actually had, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was 16, it was summer of 2000, the summer after 10th grade going to 11th.
Yeah.
I had these long braids that I grew that were like my like cool like 90s alternative edgy hairstyle that I had for a while.
Yeah, I remember.
And they were very unkempt. They were I like got my hand somehow in like orthodontic rubber bands and like kind of made braids out of these like long uncleansed, unwashed, ungroomed, unmaintained long bangs that I had.
Kind of turned into like a dread
semi-dready.
kind of
They never actually dreaded, but something else far more dreaded began to happen to them. And I just one day I just like ran my hands through these long, locks of hair that I had, draping over my face, and I pulled my fist away to discover that there was a clump of hair in it. And my father is he's a pillar of the bald community. He's a man who was very much aware of his identity as a bald individual. The interesting thing to me is until that first moment where I observed hair coming out.
How old were you then?
I was 16.
16.
So until that moment when I first made the observation of like unusually large amounts of hair, coming off my head and into my hand, just running my fingers through my bangs. I don't think there was a single moment in my life up until that point where I ever thought to myself, hey, my dad is bald. I wonder if I'm going to go bald, or what'll it be like to go bald? Or, the issue just simply had never made its way to being on my mind. But just somehow in that very first moment when I pulled the hair out, it just occurred to me that I may be going bald. I would say I've never been the same since.
Just like your father.
Yeah, just like my father. He's definitely never been the same since either. But all dramatizations aside, I pulled out my hair, and I thought the first thought that occurred to me was I can't actually be losing my hair. That would be crazy. I'm 16 years old. I couldn't even grow a full beard yet at the time.
Right.
And so I said, nature couldn't be that cruel. It just wouldn't make sense. So I concluded in a probably less than scientific analysis that it must be the case that my hair was falling out because I wasn't doing a good job like caring for the bangs, the long bangs I had grown. So I immediately went and cut them, and from that day on I started like doing what my grandmother referred to as taking a baldy. She would always tell me when I was growing up that if you don't want to lose your hair, take a baldy, which was her kind of funny, cute, old-fashioned way of saying you shave your head to like a zero. Head. Yeah.
Okay.
And in another example of something being less than scientific, I think my grandmother's suggested method on how to fight off hair loss was probably something that would not be validated by randomized controlled trials. and so I kept cutting it shorter and shorter, and like little by little, I noticed, the fortifications of the castle were growing ever more, receded. So that was like most of 11th grade. I was just kind of like focused on it, but it wasn't at all visible yet. And then over the subsequent, I would say like, so that was year 16 turned 17. So I would say between that and year age 20, there were like different milestones I kept hitting and like checking different boxes to say like, yeah, this is really happening. And it's because there was a full year, like I said, that age 16, 17 year before anyone else could tell, where I was like acutely aware of it. I was like, observing, minor loss every single day, and
you become obsessed with it.
Obsessed with it. Yeah, you're a teenager. All you care about is your image and looking good and girls and whatever, stuff like that.
And you want is to be losing your hair.
It doesn't help to be, having the hairline of a 45-year-old, So anyway, so that first year it was like the struggle was all internal, but no one had actually noticed. By the next year, age 17 to 18, like one or two people made a comment. It was funny. I was in a boarding school for all male boarding school at the time, and the way no one like went to a barber shop. We would just like sit on like a upside down milk crate, and like a guy would like had like a little electric razor and would shave you. And I remember when I was 18, or maybe I just turned 19, someone was shaving my head and they said, "Bro, I got some bad news for you, man. I think you're going bald." I remember thinking, like, think I'm going bald? I've been fucking obsessing over the fact, dreaming about it, and sleeping and dreaming, fucking hair falling off my head for the past 2 years. You think I'm going, you fucking idiot, whatever. So little episodes like that start happening more and more frequently. And I remember by the time I was 20, it was like, I was like categorically, terminally bald.
Right.
And so, I'll fast forward a little bit, but I later hit your phase where I started wearing a hat, and that became sort of like it became a lifeline. You said, like I hated being in public anywhere without a hat on. I was very self-conscious, and this was till like age like 22, 23, and then you had already been shaving your head, I think, for like 2 or 3 years, and I could see that you were no longer carrying the burdens of life as a member of the community. You had thrown off the yoke of society's discrimination against our community, and you just embraced the identity. And I said, that's really the only way to do it, because like even at that time, even when I shaved, I remember like shaving down to the point where like I probably like removed a few extra layers of skin, because I just was so opposed to people like seeing the color disparity between like where there's like hair and like a shadow of hair and where there was no. I was hoping people would think I was shaving my head, because I wanted to save on electric bills. I didn't want to put on the air conditioning, so I shaved my head to keep cool. Like, I'm not bald. Who the fuck is bald? Only losers go bald. But like once I did it, I just suddenly it's cheesy to say, but it really was just like such a unburdening.
You were free.
I was free.
You were hair free.
I didn't know what the future had in store, but I knew that for the first time in years, like I was ready to face it, and whatever may come, because this crutch of having to like hide my head with a hat was it was a lot. It was a lot to bear. It's like a secret that that you couldn't tell anyone. So it felt exciting to finally be rid of that, and let's just I'd rather have hair. I don't have hair now, but willing to try my lot at life now.
We're here. Our head is clear. Get used to it.
Yeah, exactly. Bald is beautiful, baby.
Bald is beautiful.
Yeah. So I guess sticking to like a conversational theme of like the chronology and unfolding events, how did you find things once you had your little like moment of epiphany where you embraced your status as a member of the bald community and you just introduced yourself to the world as a bald man?
It was absolutely freeing. I didn't have to worry about getting enough hair to comb over the bald spot, or constantly checking my hair, making sure it's not out of place.
And the maintenance routine is like non-existent.
Yeah.
It's like you shave and you're done.
Yeah, when I shave my face, I shave my head. I'm finished, as long as gotta wear the hat, gotta wear sunscreen.
Yeah, you gotta be cautious.
Yeah, you gotta. That's
even nature's unkind to the bald community.
Well, you have to be smarter to take care of yourself.
Yeah, your head is more exposed, so you have to have a little more inside of it to know how to navigate nature.
Yeah, it's. I remember the first time I shaved my head, and I did not learn that lesson yet. And I went out to I think it was the beach or something. Okay. Actually, no, it was. I remember what happened. I bought one of those inflatable rafts, because in the bridge to Miami Beach, there's these little islands in the bay.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'd always wanted to go to those islands, but I never had a boat, right?
Okay.
I saw in Walgreens, they had a little inflatable boat with plastic paddles. Okay. And I'm like, that looks so close. I could definitely make it.
Okay.
I went out there without a hat.
Okay. Bad decision.
It took
this was like day one?
This was like within maybe a few weeks later or something. Okay. Like I did try to tan it to even out the color. Sure. That took a few weeks to even.
See, I have one advantage over you. Your skin is far more faint than mine.
That's true.
So I obviously had much lighter skin underneath where my hair had previously been, but it was pretty quick for like my skin, I guess, tans pretty quickly.
Yeah, you're darker than me.
It didn't take long for my complexion to like kind of balance out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I got into the little paddle boat and I paddled out there. Did not think to bring a hat like an idiot, and took me 40 minutes.
Don't be hard on yourself, my brother. You had been through a lot.
I was, recovering from trauma.
Right.
But boy, did I traumatize myself because it was like 45 minutes to get there. Right. And by the time I was there...
Not a lot of obstruction from the sun out in the middle of the bay.
The blazing Miami sun. And by the time I was getting there, it was starting to like swell. And I got skin sun poisoning, whatever they call it.
Okay.
I think sun poisoning. And where like my skin like swelled up, and I was like puffy skin, and it was was super hot, and I was like sick and like had a fever. And
oh my gosh.
It was really
wow. I've never had an experience like that.
It was that bad.
I'm admittedly lax about wearing a hat outdoors, so
you shouldn't be.
Yeah, knock on wood, I've not had that.
Well, you also weren't like 45 minutes in the blazing Miami sun.
But for you, I've been shaving my head for years. I've spent like days on the beach and things. I definitely put myself in a position where I think that would happen to me if my body were susceptible to it. So, I guess that's one way in which genetics, chose to do me a solid.
Right. I mean, and yet after we both went bald, people started confusing us for each other.
Right. So that's So that's been a theme of mine and David's. The first time, I don't know if. What the format of this podcast is. I'm not sure if it'll be visible or people will be hearing our voices or whatever. But
whatever.
But just for the sake of anyone who's listening at home, David and I have not one single physical character trait, I would say, in common, other than us both being members of the bald community. Yeah. He's got faint skin and light blue eyes. I have like more tan mocha shade of skin, complexion, and brownish eyes. He's probably about 2 inches taller than me. He's a little more broad than me.
You have a fucking beard?
I have a beard now. Yeah, I have a beard. I only had a beard in the relatively recent years.
Yeah, right.
But there's, put it this way. When we both had hair, no one in their right mind would ever in a million years have thought of, confusing us for one another.
Right.
And the first time it happened to me, I don't know, I'd be interested to hear the first time it happened to you, but you famously were featured in an issue of Rolling Stone. Right. I think it was 2011 when the issue came out. Yeah. So, I thought it was really cool. My friend's in this famous, major, media publication, cool story, War Dogs, all of it. And so I was in law school at the time. And so I sent the article to a couple friends of mine, and I was like kind of eager to like get their feedback. It's a new cool story. To have them like pepper me with some questions. Did your friend really do this? Did your friend really do that? And I was like, yo, did you get that article? Isn't that cool? And my friend I sent it was like, yeah. You look exactly like that guy at Packouz. And I was like, really? That's your primary takeaway from the articles? I look like Packouz? Okay. I mean, I don't see it. Yeah. And, what was notable to me about that was, law school is a time where people tend to discuss issues of social justice a lot. Right. It's a setting where that's a major focal point, and he didn't seem to grasp the bigotry.
You people look the same.
You all look the same. You all look the same. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. It's one off. It's a little strange. And since then, regularly, we went out a couple weeks ago with my beautiful girlfriend Ariel. Shout out, love you, babe.
She'll be editing this, right?
She'll be providing, I'm sure, some helpful feedback. And, That's what girlfriends do, provide helpful feedback.
Of course, very supportive.
Yeah. And so we went out, with another female friend of hers who was there, and I remember a couple weeks later, I was talking to this particular female friend, and a friend of my girlfriend, and I said, hey, David, we went out, he's a nice guy, my friend David. And she said, oh yeah, him, yeah. You guys look exactly alike. Yeah. And I was like, no, have you no shame, woman? In fact, just a couple weeks ago, we were out at Fenster's.
Yeah, that's right.
We were out.
Oh, that's right.
We were out with a good friend of ours who we've been close with since we're teenagers.
Yeah.
And he's from a very fun family where all the siblings tend to go out together a lot, and they all have like big fun get-togethers. And so we don't just know our friend, we know all his siblings fairly well too. We've been hanging out with the whole family since
for many years, 20 years.
Yeah, close to 20 years. And the sister walks up to David, who, believe it or not, ladies, is single at the moment. Or I don't know if you're. Well, I won't speak to that. But in any event, she came up to you and she said, so where's your girlfriend? And you were at least single at the time when she said to you, and you were like, my girlfriend. And then like both you and her had this moment like, oh my God. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I swear, I don't know how that happened. She mixed us up. This is someone who's hung out with us hundreds of times over the years. And she had probably just seen us a month earlier, the last time we hung out with her. And so where's your girlfriend? Oh, wait a second, you're not Fishy, you're that other bald asshole. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I was giving her a hard time about it. And then of course she hit me with exactly what you'd expect the bigot like that to say. She said, please don't hold it against me. Some of my best friends are bald. I'm not sure which ones because they all look the same. So it's been happening to us a lot. And of course the most funny, albeit morbidly funny, instance of this that I always mention, which is true as sort of scripted for TV as it sounds at your father's funeral.
That was ridiculous.
There are several. We should also note there's several members of your family who are full-fledged members of the bald community. So there were a number of naked skulls bopping around. There are a number of people in the Packouz family who are members of the bald community, and it was of course at your father's funeral. And so not one, I don't even think it was two. I think like 3 or 4 different people over the course of the funeral came up to me, wishing me condolences and telling me they're sorry for my loss. And at first I said, how insensitive could these people be? It's a funeral. The Packouz brothers are, going through this terrible tragedy of their their father's passing. And these bigots are running around just dropping microaggressions left and right, mixing up bald people like it ain't no thing.
Yeah.
And just one after the next, we're sorry for your loss, we're sorry for your loss. And I said, how could these people be so inconsiderate? Then it hit me. I realized they weren't being inconsiderate. They hadn't mixed me up with you. When they were saying they're sorry for my loss, what they must have meant was they were sorry for my loss of my hair.
A way bigger tragedy.
Terrible tragedy, But yeah, it was quite something when about 3 or 4 different people at the funeral.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was really funny.
It was so bizarre.
Tell me some experiences you've had where people have mixed us up.
I can't think of too many other times like at the moment, but I do remember that
your business partners. When I went to see you at the house that you guys.
Oh, did they?
When I walked in. I don't know if it was them. It was someone who was there. I think it might have been a member of the film crew.
Oh, okay.
Right away, someone said, "Oh, you guys look so similar." Right away.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yeah. That's it. Happens all the time. Like we get that all the time. But it's amazing, like how much my bald head is part of my identity and people's like image of me, because I remember once in Halloween I dressed up as Dracula and I had like the wig, and I walked into like a room with like some of our really close friends, people we've known since we were kids, and they looked right at me and then they went back to talking, and then they did a double take and they're like, wait, that's you. They did not recognize me for a few. It took them a few seconds to like realize who I was.
I could see every part of you up until the last inch of your scalp, but I have no ability to identify you. You look like a completely different human being. It's pretty incredible. And I even like, because we've been doing this now for almost 20 years. We've been shaving our heads.
Shaving our heads.
I don't know, like. I don't know if people would like reckon people so, for example, you and the small handful of other friends that I've known since I'm a young child, in my mind's eye, like when I think about what they look like today, I mostly think of their childhood selves. It's just like how they appear in my mind's eye. Of course, like I know what you look like today, and you know, I know what all the other people I'm talking about look like today, but like just they look like, you know, when I see a picture of them, it's like jarring for a second. So I'm like, because I see them at 40 whatever, and I'm like, that's not what they look like. They look like the cute little 6-year-old that I grew up with, you know. But I think that in my mind's eye, or rather, I think that in most people's mind's eye, I am bald. Like I don't think anyone like registers me in their memory banks as like you know, the pre-bald.
Right.
You know,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But I'm saying, like, I remember, you know, you, I guess, I mean, to be, I guess, really, you know, self-aware about it. I guess maybe to some extent. I definitely, like, in my mind's eye, like, yeah, you look very, very different from like your childhood self. So maybe to some extent, like, I see the modern day you, but I also see like it's all one person. Like I see it all, you know. Yeah, exactly. It's like the infinite Packouzes.
Wait until where I go next.
Right. Yeah. Infinite Packouzes, but absolutely zero hair. Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been you know, an interesting experience seeing how people relate to it. There's also like been a lot of occasions where like people will like make a slight against bald people and like forget that you're one of them, you know, because like you're one of the good bald people. So like you're like, you know, like a friend of mine I remember was like once making fun of someone else who like had receding hairline. I was like, that ugly bastard, he should get some Rogaine. And I remember thinking like, he should get
here.
Yeah, exactly. Having no decency. Yeah. So it's
there is a systemic bias. I mean, all the bad guys in movies are bald.
They didn't let you play yourself in your own movie.
I know. Only because
you were relegated to a.
And I'm way better looking than Miles Teller.
Yeah. That bastard's got a thick, full, plush head of hair. You could probably, if you're so determined to be in a movie, they might be able to cast you as Dr. Evil in the next Austin Powers. You know?
Yeah. And of course, you know, everyone in all my interviews, there's always a few comments usually about saying how they're surprised that Johnny Sins is you know, a former arms dealer or whatever.
Right.
So I've always been compared to Johnny Sins.
Is he? I don't know who that is.
He's a very famous porn actor who is also a member of the bald community.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He's a bald brother.
Okay. I'm glad to hear he's doing great things.
He's doing very big things.
He's using very big things to do very big numbers.
Yeah. Well, you know, some of the things, it's very hard what he does, you know.
Well, I'm glad that his status as a member of a marginalized community hasn't held him back.
Yeah, but no, he's done very well for himself. So he's one of the shining beacons.
Yeah, I'm sure
his beacon is shining bright. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool. I've always felt that I consider Michael Jordan to be the sort of you know, leading civil rights figure of the bald movement. And I'll tell you why I feel that way. I think that Michael Jordan normalized and made socially acceptable the shaved head. Yeah.
Because before that it was only like neo-Nazis.
Or just before that, most people did comb-overs and like just embrace the you know, the self-hating you know, approach to baldness, like trying to conceal it, cover it, deny it. People would like keep the thick hair growth on the side,
right.
Recipe for disaster, to remain forever marginalized. You know, you got to break free. And Michael Jordan was, you know, he was unimpeachably alpha.
Right.
You know, no one can. How, you know, you could be like fucking Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street, have that amount of hair.
Yeah.
You know, Chewbacca from Star Wars, head to toe. You're not more fucking alpha than Michael Jordan. You know, he was the man's man. He's a winner's winner. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, and he's very presentable. He's, you know, had any number of endorsement deals with major, you know, iconic fashion brands. I mean, he was a look. You know.
He did for a brief period go with the Hitler mustache. I think that was a step too far.
Well, I think he had plausible deniability of being a white supremacist.
That's true.
I think it'd be pretty tough.
It was still bizarre to see. I think it threw everybody off that Hitler, because it was undeniably the Hitler mustache.
I never heard people make that accusation.
No, I mean, look at it.
He definitely seemed very determined to annihilate any of his competitors on the court. I don't know. I don't know that he cared to annihilate entire ethnic minorities, but to be clear, I'm not saying
comparing Michael Jordan to Hitler.
Right.
I'm just saying
Right.
he's such a groundbreaker in fashion that he even tried to reclaim the Hitler mustache.
Is that something he's explicitly stated?
Oh,
that
I don't think that
Yeah.
he did. I've never heard him.
Because in the
talk
80s, I think
publicly
there
about
were
it.
a few. I think that was a bit of a look in the 80s, which is when Michael Jordan first entered the NBA. I think Kenny Smith might have had a little bit.
The Hitler mustache?
Yeah,
No, that was way later than Michael Jordan got it.
Oh, Michael Jordan got it
later.
after his playing days?
Way later.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah, it was like more of a recent thing. 15
Right.
years.
Okay.
Whatever.
Interesting.
But,
Interesting.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
he only briefly had it, but like it was so fucking weird. Yeah.
for the I would say he's the anti-Hitler.
No, I mean
He's broken down.
if anyone could pull it off, it would be him.
Yeah,
He reclaimed the bald look from the neo-Nazis, so he's trying to reclaim the mustache from Hitler. It makes sense.
Yeah. I think he's he has salvaged the dignity and innocence of different styles of male grooming.
It's a Michael Jordan, a hero of the bald community.
I think that there should be a national holiday, Michael Jordan Day. Everyone should get to take off of work and make a donation to your local hair club for men.
Oh, you got to tell the story of your father.
Okay, so I have generational trauma relating to baldness. I don't know if I've ever told you this actually. So this is notable. So my father was a man who also grasped the I guess the tragic nature of life as a bald man in a thick hair having man's world. And he'd make comments to me here and there, and my father is no longer with us, so I don't want to delve too much into things he would say because he's not here to correct the record. But a quote of his that I think is certainly relevant and worth sharing is relatively late in his life. It was 2018. So my father passed in 2022, and for the latter 4 or so years of his life, he was dealing with a variety of health issues. After what he had to have, I guess it's a little personal, but whatever. How often does a bald man get a platform in our society? So I'm just going to run my mouth. So anyway, he had his prostate removed. I said, Dad. Oh, and my father also had a disease which is referred to as a disease that I have too. It's called keratoconus, which affects vision, and he had it at a pretty extreme level. So anyway, I called my father up to kind of as sort of like a get well phone call after he finished this surgery, and I said, as like a joke, because it's the kind of humor that was in my dynamic with my father. So I said, how are you even gonna get out of bed in the morning now? You got no prostate, you got bad eyes, and you got no hair. He said, you're right. And I don't think I even need to tell you which of the three of those is the most painful. So I come from a generational line of those afflicted by this.
He's been complaining about being bald his entire life.
It's definitely something that he had to bear. It was not a cross to bear, but a loss to bear. Yeah. But what was very interesting, I think, is something that I always found so ironic. My father's bald genes came from his mother's side. My father's father went to his grave with a full head of hair.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just like the cruelty of genetic, just little twists of fate,
The throw of the dice.
Yeah.
The genetic luck as it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
what about, what's your ancestral line like?
So my dad managed to keep a very bad comb-over for, I think, almost until the end. But it was a pretty bad comb-over.
Yeah, it was... I mean, he was categorically bald.
Yeah, he was bald. Yeah. Yeah, but and his father also was, I think, got pretty bald also. So yes, and
so you have intergenerational trauma.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think my grandfather was of the generation where they always wore hats everywhere.
It was it was a kind of throwing a life preserver to the bald community.
Right. You told me the story about how when your dad went through his balding phase as a teenager, his personality changed.
That's what I was told. Obviously, I wasn't there.
So tell the story that
because we go bald at like 12 in my family.
Right.
I wasn't born when my father was 12.
Right.
I mean, what I know, what I was told is my father was widely recognized as a very handsome man. He was very athletic too. My father, from what I'm...
He was like one of how many kids in his family?
He was one of 4 kids. He was one of 4 kids. 3 boys and 1 girl. And he was a very talented athlete.
Uh-huh.
And he was generally known for being good looking and athletic. And by 16, so much for that. And so, yeah, I don't know like specifics. I just think it very much made him more of a recluse and a loner.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But I always, had that in my sort of headspace as like what the destiny is for every member of the bald community.
Uh-huh.
Is like it ends up, because I mean certainly my father's not the only example in my mind. I mean
right.
I mean classically, I remember even like it. I've been bald for so long that Googling didn't exist when I started going bald. I don't
right.
think Google. It certainly wasn't a household name in
right.
the go-to search engine
right.
on the internet. The company I think was formed in 1998 or something.
Yeah.
But it certainly, as I said, wasn't like hadn't reached its status as a verb in the English
right.
language. No one was Googling.
Right.
But I remember doing a very early internet search, like, how does baldness affect people? And I said, it can cause people to become withdrawn, people to experience feelings of loneliness, depression can ensue. And I said, this internet thing's really going to take off. It's got all the right answers. It's right about it. It's right on every count. So yeah. So there was definitely some intergenerational components to the process, but. Thank God for Michael Jordan, who's the father of the ententire bald family.
Yeah,
in a sense, like I said, he's
the bald father.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's the follicleless father.
The follicleless father.
And yeah, I really think that we are living in a very blessed time because it now is essentially completely socially acceptable to show up in any setting and have a shaved head.
Yeah, at least in our society. Yeah.
As opposed to what, like in other countries, other cultures?
I imagine in other cultures they probably don't treat it the same. But in secular society,
in any humane society, there would be room for acceptance.
Yeah, like your father would have never shaved the rest of the hair he had.
Right.
But
that was for religious reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what are your thoughts on the various forms of embracing life as a self-hating bald man and trying to either grow it back, all the different surgeries? Like, would any of that appeal to you? Would you ever consider doing that?
So, I've been told, right, and it's not to brag or nothing,
right,
but I've been told that I have a really nice head.
Okay.
Right?
That you give or that you...
I have. But, and I'm so aerodynamic,
right.
It's great.
Right.
I have, I've, just to mess with it, when DALL-E first came out, I took a selfie picture of mine, and you can like draw.
When what first came out?
DALL-E, the AI image generator,
okay.
And it has this feature where you can like decide which area of the picture that you upload you can change, and you can type in what you want it to do, what you want to appear in the area you choose. So I took a selfie of myself, and I highlighted the top of my scalp, and I put beautiful head of hair, and it gave me. I had a few different options, different hairstyles, and I look pretty good, and however. For me to get, and so I think that I don't look bad as a bald person. Right. It definitely gives me a more unique look, though. Only amongst
not that unique.
Yeah,
you look just like every other bald man.
Except that I look like every other bald man.
Right, but they're all entirely forgettable.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not against getting my hair back if the technology was there. So yes, I could get hair transplants, but I'm so bald, right? The entire top of my scalp. I've got.
You don't have enough donor hair.
Yes, exactly. I don't have enough donor hair to cover the whole thing. Now they can give you one thing people do is they get like a hairline
tattoos, right?
Well, that's another option is tattoos, but that just makes you have to keep on shaving
from growing it out at all.
No, I don't think the tattoos prevent you from it.
Not prevent the hair, meaning just like practically speaking, the hairline created by the tattoo is going to be just look like a zero.
It's gonna look like you're shaving your head.
Yeah,
Yes,
so you
yes,
just have
exactly.
to constantly shave.
Exactly. Yeah. I've considered doing that. Like I've wondered what that would look like.
Are they? There must be some temporary version of it you could experiment with.
Probably. That's not a bad betraying like of you. Listen, I'll always be bald at heart.
well, baldness and the heart have nothing to do with each other.
You know, you have to support my transition if I choose to transition.
I don't know that I would ever. I love you like a brother. I'll support you in whatever you do, but it would be hard for the community if you left.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'll
think about all the young, bald 15-year-old boys out there who just need a role model.
Look, I fully support
the bald community
and the people who do not want to join it. Everyone has to make their own decision. Everyone has a unique situation. Not everyone has a beautiful skull like me. Some people have a weird shaped skull and it doesn't work for them.
There are those out there who to whom baldness was particularly unkind.
Exactly. And some people live in a society where that's not an option. Right? So there's all sorts of reasons why. But definitely I will say that there are some, what do guys really care about? As far as girls go, right? Definitely been plenty of girls who love the bald look. Sure. But I'm sure those girls like guys with nice heads of hair too, right?
If you'll allow me to just intercede, I've never gone onto Tinder as registered as a girl to see what guys write in their profiles. Yeah. But based on the years I spent on dating apps before I entered into a relationship, I've observed that there are two physical flaws or characteristics or whatever one wishes to call them, that it is completely socially acceptable to explicitly say you select on the basis of. Please don't be bold and please don't be short. And look, like I said,
so Tinder worked great for you then.
it worked great for me to learn how cruel of a world it is. But again, I started with the caveat that I've never actually looked at what men write. So it could be men write like have big boobs or else I won't match with you. But
I'm sure there's plenty.
I'm sure guys do it crudely and in a way that's known to be a joke or like it wouldn't be considered acceptable in polite company, so to speak, for a guy to say have these measurements or whatever, have boobs bigger than this and waist smaller than this. Like every guy's thinking it, or many guys are thinking it, or we all care about appearance and who we're courting. But in polite company, you wouldn't say something like that.
It wouldn't be acceptable.
It wouldn't be acceptable. But it is not just acceptable, but the norm. I will say that the short criterion tends to be stated a lot more commonly than the bold criterion. Some women definitely,
are against it.
Please, say we do discriminate. They have a sign on their Tinder profile. So it's not surprising that members of our marginalized community would be subject to that double standard. Imagine putting on some physical characteristic that's a deal breaker criterion.
So I'm not saying you can't lead a good, successful, and wonderful, happy life as a bald man, right? But as you and I know, as members of this community, there are some downsides to it occasionally. So I don't judge anyone who wants to transition out of the bald community and
you're far less devoted to the cause than I am. Fuck those perfidious self-hating bald people who jump onto the hair wagon the first chance they get. The truth is, though, I don't think there's any real. The real test will come when the technology is fully able to give one a
full head
real. I guess it would only come with like cloning.
Yeah, you'd have to clone the hair follicles. You have to.
To have sufficient donor supply.
Right. Because currently they take it from the sides of your head and then they transfer it to the top of your head. It's
like strip mining, basically.
And it doesn't grow back where they take it from. So there's only so much you could take.
And if further hair loss occurs around the sites where the donor hair is implanted, then you have awkward little islands of
exactly.
hair.
That's where they have to do it in sufficient density. And so there is for men with our level of loss.
We're not going anywhere. We're stuck in the bald community.
So there are some people who just get the hairline done with grafts, and then they use like a glue-on toupee in the back. And so that gives full coverage, and really what you see is the hairline. So that's the part that they do it. But of course, you get that glue-on toupee.
Well, the reason why I think the hairline is vital, this is a concept I call it critical face theory. The reason why I would say that the dividing line between someone who's bald and someone who's merely balding is whether or not you have a sufficient hairline for the face to be framed. That is the distinction.
Right.
That is the change that causes baldness to be seen as an attribute that makes a person less physically attractive. Is the absence of a facial framing. And
that's why hats fix that.
Right. That's why hats fix it, and that's why when you don't shave your sides, it distorts it further because like the framing is really thrown off. Right. Whereas when you shave, it sort of creates some semblance of like a bone structure based frame. We have a friend. I don't want to name anyone's name who's not here and isn't consenting to having their name said, but we have a friend who is balding in the back and is thinning a little in the front, and he's always, saying we, us. It's so hard for us. I said, there ain't no we here, buddy. You got a frame, man. You are not a member of the bald community. Quite yet. You're on your way. Yeah. You're on your way. Your ticket is stamped, but your bus has not arrived. And he insists that he is, and I really feel it's, I think it's cultural appropriation.
But listen, maybe we have to expand our definition and our community to accept members of all persuasions.
Well, as someone who's suffered so much,
there's a spectrum, right? You have to accept everyone on the spectrum.
Well, I think baldness is not a cultural construct. I think it's a biological reality, and as I've said, the definition I would apply is whether or not one is framed, whether or not one possesses that frame.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Well, that's there will be others who will fight for their right to be included in the community.
Who would insist on their piece of the grievance pie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess that's the world we live in.
It's we might have to add an extra letter just for them.
Yeah, if they came for a piece of
maybe a plus.
If they came for my piece of the grievance pie, I better not find a hair in that piece when I'm trying to eat it. Motherfuckers, with their frames and their hairlines intact.
Well, that they're losing it, so it's likely that you'll find one of their hairs.
Exactly. I remember going back to the early part of the discussion where we were talking about our just becoming aware of our own hair loss as young teenage boys. I remember telling her, I think I may be going bald, and she said no. She didn't even like consider the possibility that could be happening. It's it's absurd. Even though her brother went bald basically at the same age I did. I was doomed from the start. My father went bald by 18. My mother's only brother went bald by 16. It was they should have aborted me. I don't know what they were thinking going through. Anyway, so I remember telling my mom that I was that I think I was going bald, and she said, no. The way to know, the test is if you run your finger through your hair. And if every time you do that, more hair comes out. Everyone has a little bit of hair come out when they run their fingers through their hair. But if you do it 5, 6, 7, 8 times and consistently there's hair on your hand, then you know that you're, then your test has sadly come back positive. Yeah. And I think my recollection, I could be wrong. My recollection, she was saying it in a way suggesting you're clearly not bald because that's not happening to you without. Never considering the possibility that it was happening. Yeah. I remember just doing it, and every day I'd sit. I remember just sitting, eating breakfast, seeing little hairs flying around my milk. It was in my cereal milk. Yeah. It was just I was 16. Everyone's so self-conscious when they're 16.
Yeah.
I will say one great thing. I mean, there are many great things once you embrace. Your status as a member of the community. I'm bald and I'm proud. Bald is beautiful. Bald lives matter. All of it.
Yeah.
But one thing that I will say, one particular benefit is if you have your first major physical aging event when you're 16, as a male at least, there isn't going to be any major significant degradation of your appearance for many decades to come. I looked like a 35-year-old when I was 16, but since then I haven't aged a day, basically.
Right. As long as you take care of yourself.
Yeah, right. Yes. Everything, all the next aging events are heavily within your control.
Right.
Until you get to fairly advanced ages.
Right.
You're not going to go gray. You can't go gray.
Right. That's true.
Going gray. That's for losers with hair. So that's something I've always I knock on wood. I come from superstitious stock, so I feel I have to say a million caveats and disclaimers, and I'm regularly told people can't believe I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe it has to do with my extraordinary level of immaturity. I don't know. But no, I mean, they appear to be saying it at least partially based on my appearance. So
I'm told the same thing. So bald don't crack.
Yeah, exactly. Bald stay beautiful, baby.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's a great note to wrap up our first podcast of Bald Life Matters, the matters of the bald life.
Yeah, we hope everyone who listens enjoyed. And if you see someone you know struggling with baldness, just be kind to them.
Yes. Kindness. We all need more kindness.
If you see anyone you know who's not struggling with baldness, be kind to them too.
Everyone
has their own internal struggle.
Yeah.
And people who are bald have a very external struggle.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna play out one of the many theme songs that we
generated for this during our workshops.
Exactly.
There's a lot of great creative talent in the bald community.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I said, some of the best art comes from pain.
Yeah, from loss.
Yes.
I was 7 years baby, life was fine. Didn't know that one day my scalp would shine. At 16, I saw the warning signs. Read my fingers through my hair, said, oh no, it's time. Oh, I'm bald and beautiful, baby. No more comb-overs, no more maybe. Michael Jordan showed the way, so I threw my hat away. Now my head's a beacon bright, reflecting off the city lights. Tried Rogaine, but it made me gross. My scalp got flaky like a piece of toast. Went on a date, wore a bandana tie. She said, you wear that all night. I fought the fight, but nature won. My forehead stretched from here to the sun. Tried to roll to an island with my bald head bare. Ended up sun poison, life ain't fair. I'm bald and beautiful, baby. No more comb-overs, no more maybe. Michael Jordan showed the way, so I threw my hat away. Now my head's a beacon bright, reflecting off the city lights. Rapid pause, deep voice. People say you look just like that guy, but no, we just all have no hair. That's why it's a bald